When you're building a van, one of the most important questions is how do you go from this to this? Hello party people, I am Will Pemble, and today we are going to be soundproofing wheel wells, which is a crucially important part of building a van. We're going to be using some amazingly cool stuff from the nice folks at Noico. We're going to be using two products to get from here, just like a cooking show. I've got one that's already in the oven. This one is already done, and I'll show you exactly how I did what I did here so that we could get from this to that. And I promise I am knocking just exactly as hard on either one. It's amazing the difference. So we're going to be using this Noico 80 mil sound deadening mat, which is probably familiar to you, and then something that might not be as familiar is this awesome Noico Red 150 mil sound deadening treatment and insulating stuff as well. Bits and pieces you're going to need to do this are going to be a brush, just so that you can sweep up and keep things clean and tidy as you go. You're going to need a wide sound deadening mat Noico rolling tool and a narrower one, a razor blade knife with which we will always be very, 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 very careful. You also need a van, which are surprisingly hard to get. Anyway, let's get a start on this right now. You may notice, you'll notice that we started on insulation, and you might have seen a previous video where we used Kilmat. When you buy Kilmat comes in sheets that are about this big. One of the things I love about the Noico product is that it comes in sheets that are this big, and that is really, really big, and it's really awesome when you're trying to soundproof large areas of things. And if you're trying to soundproof a Sprinter van, that's a large area. The plan for the wheel wells is we're going to use 2 layers of the Noico 80 mil sound deadening product, and then we're going to put on top of that 1 layer of the Noico Red foam insulation on top of that. This is 150 mil thick. One of the many cool things about Noico is that it does come with pretty detailed, specific instructions about what tools you're going to need, what steps to take, and how to take them. And the folks at Noico are super responsive if you've got any questions or ideas or problems or concerns. So I'm a big fan. This is the sound package, the acoustic package that comes from Mercedes. We always order our vans with that acoustic package in it for some reasons, but sound deadening isn't one of them. So we will start by peeling up half of the bottom of this, and then I just center this piece on the wheel well and fit it right down here, and then I just very gently rub it onto that spot. Next step, once this is in here, is we just start to roll. A common mistake people make with this kind of product is to just rub it on here with your hands and call it a day. That's not good enough. The reason this roller wheel has these little scores in it, and the reason these little dots stick up on the Noico sound deadening mat, is that you are meant to get these little score marks all over and knock down all of these little bumps that come in on the product. So if it looks pretty and pristine after you've got it installed, you didn't do it right. All right, so we roll this out. We kind of find the edges of our wheel well. You see that edge right there where it starts to bend? That's what we want to find. The mat starts to bend a little bit and you start to get a little crease. We're going to put a slice in the mat right here, and it'll kind of tell us, it tells us where we should cut it. So right here I see this crease starting to form as I roll it. Being very careful not to cut the paint I'm just going to use my razor blade and slice through. And then that's going to allow me to peel and roll down this part of it, see? And then when I fold the rest of it over, it'll fit the shape of the wheel well. So that's our first layer of the 80 mil Noico sound deadening mat. We're just going to do that exact same thing again. Okay, it is a good workout. It is about 37 degrees outside here in Connecticut, and I feel just fine. Perfectly warm. The more and more that I've used the Noico product, the more I've learned that I don't want to have a whole lot of scraps left over, because I can just stick the scraps to whatever it is that I'm sound deadening, and it's just going to add to the sound deadening. And so I try not to end up with any leftover. One of the reasons that I cut along here is that we're putting panels and framing and all of that on this wall, and so I need this to be pretty pristine. We will insulate between any metal that we attach to the frame so that we're not transmitting sound from outside the vehicle, inside the vehicle, and so on and so forth. And then we'll add ground straps to things so that we're not creating electrical hazards and so on and so forth. But whenever I'm slicing up and throwing away a piece of Noico, I'm doing it for a very specific reason. If I don't have a very specific reason for cutting it off of this and throwing it away, then I'm just going to stick it to the van, because what it's going to do is it's going to help deaden sound. It's going to make the van better. So, step 3 or step 2? Well, step 1 is one layer of Noico 80 mil. Step 2 is another layer of Noico 80 mil. And then step 3 is this layer of Noico Red. And it is also sound deadening, but it's closed cell foam, so it also serves a little bit of insulation. This is one of my favorite parts. This is why they call it Noico Red. Check it. Because the glue is red. I just think that's awesome. It's foam. The glue is really sticky, so you want to have a plan before you stick it on there. And yeah, so once you stick the Noico Red onto something, it's pretty much going to stay where you put it. I roll it on, but more gently, because I don't want to tear it, but I do want to make sure that I roll every bit of that awesome, beautiful red adhesive underneath, because that's where I get my, right, it's really, really quiet. And it also has great insulation value as well. We're going to use as many of these as we can fit on here to get ourselves one layer of Noico Red. I tend to do a long ways. I try to stick it on long ways, and then I rub down the center of the piece, and in this case it fits pretty well, and then I go out from here to here and here and here. And I'll have to cut maybe a little of this. No, maybe not. I might just be able to pull up my mass-loaded vinyl. All right, see, I've got a little air bubble here, which I don't want. So if you do have an air bubble, you can just poke a little hole in it, try to roll it out or smooth it out. And if you can't, just poke a little hole in it. And you see I rub this a little bit too hard. It's really delicate, so you want to be kind of gentle with it. We want to try to make it as beautiful as we can, right? To form this piece, what I'll do is I've got my straight line here. I want to see if I can stick with that. I'm going to stick with my straight line, and I want to be right up against this piece. And then here's where I'm going to need to cut. And so if I can, just with my thumb, I've done this enough times where I kind of know that's where it's going to be. and just score and cut, then I'm going to get a pretty good fit. The extent to which this needs to be pristine, I think it has a lot to do with just what level of obsessive compulsive disorder you want to bring to the project. And I would never judge anybody for high levels of OCD. Given mine, this is kind of the seam where it wants to be, right? And so I'm going to take my little knife and I'm going to cut right along just what it seems to want to do. See, there's the red. It's so cool. Listen to the materials you're using. They'll tell you what they want. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, but like, listen to the van. The van will tell you how it wants to be built. Most things will tell you what they want. My mom, when Lyle and Ellie were little teeny babies, my mom told me something that I never forgot. She said, at least for the first year, what a baby wants and what a baby needs are the exact same thing. So a baby will tell you how to take care of him or her. And I found that applies to a whole lot of things, you know. So the van is telling us how to build the van. We just have to stop long enough to listen. And I know that's a little bit weird and quirky and artsy, but building vans is an art form. And if you don't think building vans is an art form, you should hire a van artist to build your van, because you're going to enjoy it a lot more. That one's going to fit just perfect. It's going to need just like a little snip right here, just a little teeny, maybe. Something like that. Noico Red. That's so cool. A lot of people like other products besides Noico because they got the logo splashed all over it. I don't know. This is pretty fancy, just the way it is. So I've got a nice seam there, and then I follow along right where I want it to end. And then I'll follow along the bottom, and then I'll just ever so gently start to mash it into place. And once again, it tells me where it wants the seam. It just tells me. All I have to do is listen. I'm not going to throw this away. I'm not going to cut this and make a perfect seam so that it's perfectly smooth, because this is going to reduce noise. It's going to block heat and cold just a little bit more. And then I need one more piece, I think, to fit in here. And this piece will fit just about like that. And it's going to want to go more or less like that. See? So I'm guessing that this is about the same shape as that. Let's find out. Again, so I'm going to start my straight line to the straight line, and then the floor line to the floor line. Take the back of my razor knife and just make sure that sound mat is as flush as I can get it. So I'm going to start in this little corner down here, straight line to straight line, all right? And then floor to floor, and then the rest ought to just smooth right on into place. Yeah? You buying that? I'm buying that. Can you feel it when I roll with the roller? Can you feel the difference in the sound? I can really feel it, obviously, because I'm right here inside the van. A Mercedes-Benz acoustical treatment. Mercedes-Benz? Noico. Mercedes. Noico. You wouldn't expect that, right? You'd expect Mercedes to be, you know, pretty gangster stuff, but the Noico is the true gangster stuff. One more piece. I wish you could feel this with me. It feels so good, right? So few building materials just feel awesome. But this one, it's just like, it's like giving your van a hug. If we sort of go back to where we started this whole adventure, it was a lot lighter outside, wasn't it? But remember, we started out here with a loud one and a soft one. But now, and I promise you, if you do this to your van, or if you have us do it to your van's going to be quieter, it's going to be less rattly, it's going to be warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer. And that's really, really important. Now we're going to build framing and everything over the wheel wells, where battery's going to go here and other stuff is going to go there. I think a water tank and different bits and pieces as we again listen to the van and have the van tell us how to build it. When we do that, this is going to get covered up even more, and we're going to have more insulation opportunities to protect this foam from time and elements, and also to add more insulative value to the project. But that's the deal, man. I am a fan of the Noico product. I will not use anything else unless somebody comes along and proves to me that it's better. I mean, I'm open to that conversation as always. I'm always ready to be wrong about stuff, but I've looked at a lot of these and I've used several of them, and this is the one that I enjoy the most. So thanks to the folks at Noico for giving us opportunity to goof around with this stuff. There's links below if you want to get some. Get more than enough. Always have more than enough. Always use a little more than you think you should. It's kind of like cinnamon toast. If you're making cinnamon toast, just use a little bit more than you think you should. And you're going to have some really good toast. Same thing with sound deadening and insulation. Just use a little bit more than you think you should. I am going to cover the inside of this van with this stuff. But that's it for today. Thank you for helping me bring physics, family, and fun to kids everywhere. I am Will Pemble, and we'll see you soon.